The world rewards the one who carries conviction, not the one who waits for permission. When you move as if success is already yours, hesitation dies and doors open. Confidence shifts reality because belief precedes proof. The shift happens when your actions stop asking and start declaring. Walk, speak, and build as if nothing can deny you. In a few moments, I will teach you how to act with unshakable belief like success already belongs to you. You become what you believe you already are. You don't become successful by waiting to feel ready. You become successful by deciding that you already are. The world mirrors your posture. If you act timid, it will treat you as weak. But if you walk with certainty, if your shoulders carry belief, the world moves aside. People often say, I'll act confident once I get results. But that's not how it works. The results follow the behavior, not the other way around. Life listens not to your wishes, but to your demonstration. And when you act as if it's already yours, with humility, yes, but also with boldness, you start to attract exactly what matches that attitude. You do this by controlling one thing: your posture. The way you stand, the tone of your voice, the way you begin a task, not as a beggar, but as a builder, who knows the structure will rise because his hands have chosen to shape it. Imagine a man applying for a job. One man walks in timidly, speaking as if he hopes he might possibly do the role. Another walks in and speaks as if he already belongs to the company's future. Who do they hire, you might say, but I'm afraid I'll look arrogant. No, you'll look decisive. The world is hungry for people who claim space without apology. So let me ask you, what would change in your walk, your talk, your habits if you already had the success you seek? Would you still hesitate? Would you still wait for permission? Stop asking to be chosen. Start behaving as if you've already earned your seat. Because when you act as if it's already yours, something inside you shifts. The world feels it, and little by little, it becomes true. Certainty is built, not found. You keep waiting to feel certain, but certainty isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you decide to build, one small step at a time. The man who acts with confidence isn't always right, but he gets farther than the one who keeps doubting every move. Certainty is not loud, it's not arrogance, it's quiet, solid, rooted. It's that internal nod that says, I may not know everything, but I know I will learn what I need. You don't wait for full clarity. You act, and clarity meets you on the way. You create certainty by doing what others fear, beginning without proof, trying before you're ready, speaking before you're sure they'll clap. That's how you build faith, in yourself, in your process, in the unseen path ahead. Think of the young farmer planting in dry soil. There's no guarantee of rain, no certainty of harvest, but he plants anyway, not because he knows the future, but because he believes in what he's doing. That's how you grow, not by sitting with doubt, but by stacking daily acts of commitment. Each one becomes a brick. Each brick builds belief. You may ask, but what if I make a mistake? Let me ask you back. What if staying still is the greatest mistake of all? Certainty doesn't strike like lightning. It rises like the sun slowly with each morning you decide to keep going. So start, move, trust, and let the fire in your bones be louder than the fear in your head. Identity comes before results. You keep chasing outcomes, but outcomes are just shadows of identity. You don't get success by accident. You shape it by who you become. And who you become is decided by what you believe about yourself before you have anything to show. If you still think like the old version of yourself, you will sabotage every blessing meant for the new you. That's why you must act now as if the transformation is already done. Speak with the voice of the man who has already conquered his doubt. Walk with the discipline of the woman who already owns her destiny. The identity must come first, because every action flows from it. Imagine a craftsman who still sees himself as an amateur. Every brush stroke, every cut, every idea is filled with hesitation. But now imagine he believes that he is a master. His hands move differently. His eyes spot detail. His work rises to match the identity. So ask yourself, what would the future you do right now? What would he say no to? How would she spend her time? But here's the truth. You don't need anyone's permission to start embodying that version. You simply decide. You cannot outperform your self-image. So stop trying to achieve your way into confidence. Instead, choose to live like you already are the person worthy of those results, and the results will follow. Results follow ritual, not emotion. Every day you wake up with a choice. Do you follow how you feel, or do you follow your ritual? The man who waits for motivation will always be a servant to his emotions. But the man who builds a ritual, who does what needs to be done whether or not he feels like it, becomes unstoppable. Success does not respond to feelings. It responds to rhythm. If you move only when it's easy, you'll live a life of gaps. Gaps in progress, gaps in confidence, gaps in greatness. But when you build a sacred morning habit, a quiet, consistent rhythm, you send a message to yourself and to the universe. I am serious, even when no one claps, even when no one sees. Imagine a woman who rises every day at dawn. No applause, no crowd, just her, a notebook, a plan, a small step. And day by day, her power grows, not because of one dramatic moment, but because she showed up. Now ask yourself, what would change in your life if you treated your ritual like it was law? You may say, but I feel tired. I say, build the rhythm and your energy will catch up. Don't wait for inspiration. Let ritual carry you when emotion fails, because the ones who win don't do it by chance. They do it by rhythm. Every single day, you must speak as if it's done. Your words shape your world, not just in sentiment, but in structure. Every sentence you speak is a blueprint for what your life becomes. Whisper fear, and fear grows stronger. Speak power, and strength starts to move in your bones. This isn't some mystical theory. It's a principle woven into the human mind. Your subconscious listens. It obeys not what you hope for, but what you command. And most people never realize how many doors they lock each morning by simply saying the wrong things. They say things like, maybe one day, or I'm trying. But trying is just a polite way of saying, I don't fully believe yet. And when you don't believe, why should the world? Why should opportunity bow to uncertainty? You must speak as if your vision is real. Speak not from your current position, but from your destined position. Not as a beggar hoping to be noticed, but as a leader setting the terms of your life. You say, this is who I am. You say, this is what I do, even if no one is watching. Even if the bank account disagrees. Even if the results haven't caught up yet, because speaking it is how you make room for it. The words are the soil and belief is the water. The moment you say it with certainty, your mind begins to stretch, your posture shifts, your behavior follows. Picture a man standing in front of barren land. There's no proof, no sign, no applause, but he says, here, I will build. And because he speaks with conviction, others begin to gather. They ask questions, they offer help. Not because the land changed, but because his words revealed something invisible: belief, certainty, direction. The same is true for you. If you've been speaking in doubt, you've been shrinking your own path. But you can reverse it right now. You don't need a bigger platform. You need a stronger voice, not louder, clearer. Say, I am becoming disciplined. Say, I am the kind of person who finishes. Say, this dream is already mine. I'm just walking toward it. Because when your words align with your vision, your actions begin to follow. And when your actions follow consistently, your results catch up. Not by accident, but by design. And the design started with your mouth. So speak with force. Speak with dignity. Speak not to impress others, but to ignite yourself. The world listens more carefully to the man who speaks with quiet confidence than the one who screams for attention. Say less, but say it with certainty. You're not just talking, you're setting bricks, building belief, framing your future. So don't just speak about your life, speak into it. With power, with clarity, with the unshakable tone of someone who already knows. It's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when. Your actions must match your ambitions. It's easy to dream big, to let the fire burn in your chest while you speak of goals, empires, and a life far greater than the one you're living now. But dreams, for all their beauty, mean absolutely nothing if your actions contradict them. You cannot claim to want excellence and live like you expect pity. You cannot speak of wealth while practicing the habits that ensure struggle. The world is full of dreamers, but very few doers. And in the end, only one group gets remembered. If your vision is grand, your behavior must be sharp, precise, relentless. Because the world isn't listening to what you say, it's watching what you do. You must walk like your future depends on each step, because it does. No one builds a throne by pacing around in circles. No one earns respect by rehearsing the same excuses. If you want something great, your daily life must begin to reflect it, not tomorrow, now. Too many people speak of ambition as if that alone is virtue, but ambition without discipline is a lie you tell yourself to feel better. You say you want to lead, but you still need to be told what to do. You say you want to rise, but your alarm gets snoozed 3 times before you even open your eyes. This is not ambition. This is fantasy, the kind that keeps you comfortable while your real potential starves to death in silence. Picture a man who wants to become a great writer. He's got the shelves of classic books. He's bought the finest notebooks and pens. He's told everyone about the story burning inside him. But each day, he avoids the blank page. He does everything except the one thing that actually makes him a writer. And so, despite all the appearances, he remains exactly what he is, a man with a dream, not a destiny. So ask yourself honestly, if someone were to film your life for a week, without your voice, without your explanations, would they believe in the future you say you want? Would your habits convince them? Would your effort inspire them? And if not, then it's time to change. But I'm still learning, you say. That's fine. But learning alone is not transformation. You must apply. You must execute. A messy action beats a perfect idea that never touches the ground. A failed attempt teaches more than 1,000 unread pages. Match your behavior to your destiny, not just when it's easy, not just when it's visible. Make your habits sacred. Hold your time like a weapon. Do what must be done in silence, without applause, because success isn't and systems are built in the small hours with invisible choices. If your actions stay small, your life will too. Speak less, prove more, and make every day a brick in the foundation of the life you refuse to leave to chance. Confidence grows in the doing. Confidence is not discovered in stillness or summoned by mere thought. It is forged in movement, raw, repetitive, unglamorous motion. You do not become confident by sitting in a quiet room and convincing yourself of your worth. You become confident when you stand up and do something that proves it, not to others, but to yourself. Confidence is not whispered into your soul. It is carved into your character, blow by blow, action by action, until the proof becomes undeniable. You see this in a child who is learning to walk. That child does not wait for perfect balance. He does not plan or hesitate, wondering if he'll fall. He moves, he stumbles, he falls, he cries, but he gets back up. And in doing that, in risking failure and rising again, confidence begins to grow. That is where strength is born, not in comfort, not in perfect readiness, but in courageous repetition. This is the law of growth. You must act before you feel ready. You must start while your hands still shake, while your voice still wavers, while your doubts still echo. Because confidence is not a requirement for movement. It is the result. It is the trophy at the end of your action, not the permission at the beginning. And yet, so many people wait. They wait to feel brave. They wait to feel sure. And in their waiting, the opportunity fades. Not because they weren't good enough, but because they never moved. Think of a blacksmith at his forge. The first strike of the hammer is uncertain. His aim is clumsy. The sparks fly, but the metal barely bends. Yet he strikes again and again. Over time, his arms grow steadier. The steel begins to yield, and suddenly, there's rhythm, there's power, there's control. That's what confidence feels like. Not a single bold moment, but a rhythm of persistence. The first strike is fear. The 100th is strength. Now stop and picture yourself. Think about the thing you've been postponing, the decision you've been delaying, the work you keep preparing for, but never beginning. You tell yourself you're not ready. You tell yourself you need more clarity, more knowledge, more courage. But what if you acted anyway? What if you treated your hesitation as the very reason to begin? What if the next step wasn't a risk, but a signal, a declaration that you are done waiting? Of course, fear will be there. That's the point. Fear is not your enemy. It's your training partner. It sharpens you. You do not banish fear by avoiding it. You silence it by proving it wrong. Confidence belongs to those who walk through fear and earn the right to feel strong. It is not the privilege of the lucky. It is the reward of the brave. Start small. Take one meaningful step today. Something difficult, something real, something that scares you, even slightly. Do it before you feel certain. Then do it again tomorrow. Stack these wins. Stack them high and stack them daily. Because confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you build. And if you do this long enough, you won't need to chase confidence anymore. It will no longer be a feeling you hope to have. It will live in your spine, in your hands, in your breath. It will guide your voice when you speak, your stride when you walk, and your choices when the world offers you less than you deserve, because you earned it, not with perfection, not with applause, but with bold, imperfect, relentless action. Success requires silent preparation. The loudest victories are not born in applause. They are forged in silence. Not the glamorous kind of silence people pretend to enjoy, but the gritty, disciplined solitude that demands your full presence when no one else is watching. It's easy to dream when the crowd is cheering. It's easy to post your goals, speak of your ambition, and collect approval like coins in a jar. But those things do not make you victorious. Noise doesn't build legacy. Work does. Quiet, consistent, often unseen work. The truth is harsh but freeing. It's not the spotlight that shapes your destiny. It's what you do in the shadows. It's the early mornings you wake before the sun because your vision won't let you rest. It's the long nights you spend learning, refining, repeating, while the world sleeps and forgets to care. These are the moments that matter, not the interviews, not the accolades, but the decision to rise when no one would notice if you didn't. People crave results. They hunger for recognition, for the world to validate their ambition. But few want the loneliness it takes to become great. Few want the grind without glory. Few want to train without the camera. But this is the price. This is the tax of transformation. And the man who pays it in full, without shortcuts, without applause, he becomes undeniable. Think of the composer, hunched over his desk by flickering candlelight. No crowd, no piano concert, no promises. Just paper, ink, silence, and a sound in his mind that won't let him quit. Note by note, hour by hour, he carves music into existence. And when the world finally hears it, they call it brilliance. But the brilliance was born in his solitude, and that solitude was his strength. Now think about your life. Strip away the noise. Strip away the audience. Strip away the validation. What's left? What are you doing with your unseen hours? Are you using them to build, to read, to refine your skills? Shallow comparison. The honest answer matters more than you realize. You might say, but no one sees what I'm doing. Good, that's the test. Because if you only give your best when someone's watching, you'll always be a slave to validation. You'll never know what you're truly capable of. But if you learn to work in silence, if you learn to thrive in obscurity, you become powerful. Because then you're no longer performing, you're becoming. Greatness is built in the shadows, not because greatness hides, but because it grows before it reveals itself. Like roots beneath the surface, your habits, your repetitions, your unseen efforts, they're building strength. And when the curtain finally rises, it won't be your words that carry you. It'll be those invisible hours, that discipline you kept when no one clapped for you, that decision to keep going when no one cared. So go ahead, retreat into yourself, find a room, find your rhythm, and build. Turn down the volume of the world and turn up the intensity of your focus. While others post about success, prepare for it. While others wait for permission, train in private. Don't fear the silence. It's sacred. It's where identity is sharpened. It's where doubt is confronted. It's where real confidence is born. And when your moment arrives, and it will, you won't need to explain yourself. You won't need to prove anything. Your presence will carry weight. Your results will do the talking. Because silence does not mean weakness. Silence means preparation. And the most powerful ones are often those who are underestimated, until they could no longer be ignored. So rise before the noise. Stay up after it fades. Give the quiet your best, because in that quiet you are becoming. Not for attention, not for approval, but because you owe it to the future version of yourself who will one day step into the light. And be ready. Discipline is the ultimate proof of belief. You can say you believe in yourself. You can declare it out loud. You can write it down in bold ink in your journal and repeat it every morning like a mantra. But belief, true belief, is not proven in what you say. It is revealed in what you do. Your discipline is the real evidence of your faith in yourself. Because discipline says, I believe in the future I've chosen, and I'm willing to suffer a little now to build it. Most people talk about goals. They dream vividly, they even make plans, but when the alarm rings early, they roll over. When discomfort appears, they back off. They say they want success, but they won't keep a schedule. They say they want influence, but their mornings are chaotic. They say they want greatness, but they compromise it with daily habits of laziness and delay. And so their belief, loud as it may sound, is empty, because belief without discipline is just noise. The truth is, real belief is quiet. It's in the routine. It's in what you do when nobody is watching. It's in the 10,000th step that no one will applaud. You may not always feel powerful, but discipline gives you proof that you are. Not because the task was easy, but because you showed up when everything in you wanted to stop. Think of the soldier who wakes before dawn to train. Wind, heat, cold, it doesn't matter. He sharpens his blade, perfects his steps, pushes his body past comfort, not for applause, but because he knows that when the battle arrives, hesitation is death. His discipline isn't rooted in motivation, it's built on belief. Not belief in today, but belief in what must be ready tomorrow. His discipline is an act of faith. It says, I will be ready, no matter what. Now look at your own life, your morning, your night, your patterns between. What story do they tell? What truth do they reveal? Do your actions prove that you believe in where you're going? Or do they quietly whisper that you doubt it? Because your routines don't lie. If you say you want to become someone powerful, but you keep skipping the small things that build that power, your life will always reflect that contradiction. And yes, consistency is hard. Discipline requires sacrifice. There will be days you feel tired, days when your mind screams for rest or escape. You'll be tempted to skip, to break your own promises. That's normal. That's human. But here is where belief is truly tested. Will you choose short-term relief or long-term strength? If you struggle to stay consistent, don't try to do it all. Start small. One act of discipline done every single day, no matter how minor, is worth more than a flurry of random effort that dies out by week's end. It could be 5 push-ups, a 10-minute reading habit, a short walk, a cold shower. One disciplined act anchors your identity, and when done repeatedly, it transforms how you see yourself. You become what you repeat. Each act of discipline is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming, a silent, powerful vote that says, I am not here to live small. I am not here to surrender to mood or fear. I am here to build something lasting, starting with myself. So ask yourself, with brutal honesty, what will you sacrifice today? Not because it feels good, not because it's easy, but because the version of you you're becoming demands it. What comfort can you let go of? What task can you complete? Not because you feel like it, but because your destiny requires it. Discipline is the gatekeeper between who you are and who you could be. It is the bridge between intention and reality. And every day you walk across that bridge, you prove to yourself that your belief is real. Not soft, not theoretical, earned. So let today be your proof. Not by shouting your ambition, but by acting like it's already yours. That's what discipline does. It doesn't wait for belief. It becomes it. The world responds to conviction, not permission. Most people spend their lives waiting to be noticed, waiting to be picked, waiting for someone to give them the green light. They believe that success begins when someone else, someone with authority, power, or position, recognizes their potential and gives them permission to begin. But here's the truth. No one is coming. No one is going to hand you the life you want. The world does not pass out crowns. It waits to see who will build their own. You must claim your place, not with arrogance, not with noise, but with unwavering conviction. Conviction is not loud. It doesn't boast or beg. It does not wait for applause. It simply moves. It walks into a room with certainty. It speaks with purpose. It stands with unshakable posture, even when no one is clapping. This is the energy that shifts the atmosphere. People can feel it. They may not understand it. They may not know what exactly makes them pay attention, but they do, because conviction is rare, and in a world full of people looking for permission, the one who acts without needing it commands attention. When you ask for permission, when you wait for endorsement, you hand your power over to someone else. You place your future in their hands, and if they say no, what happens? Do you shrink? Do you stall? Do you begin to doubt what you once felt so clearly? Too many people allow one rejection, one raised eyebrow, one withheld compliment to collapse their entire vision. But the person who operates with conviction, they don't ask, they act. They move forward not because someone told them to, but because they've already decided, this is who I am. This is what I do. Conviction doesn't need a crowd. It doesn't require external validation. It is internal fire paired with action. It is the artist painting long before the gallery calls. It is the writer finishing books before a publisher notices. It is the entrepreneur building systems and products while everyone else is still talking about their idea. Conviction is doing the work as if success is inevitable, because in your heart, it already is. Picture a young teacher stepping into her first classroom. The students are watching her, She has two choices. She could wait for them to approve of her, to follow her, to give her a reason to lead, or she could decide that she is the leader. She could stand tall, speak with clarity, teach with presence, and when she does, respect arrives, not because she demanded it, but because she embodied it. That's what conviction does. It draws people, not with pressure, but with presence. Now turn that mirror back on yourself. Are you still waiting for someone to validate your mission? Are you waiting for a mentor to say, now you're ready? For your family to understand? For your friends to approve? The only permission you need is your own. Your readiness isn't something someone else can give you. It's something you decide. The moment you stop hesitating and start behaving like the leader you were born to be, the world starts adjusting to you, not the other way around. And don't confuse conviction with certainty. You don't need to know every step. The path will unfold as you walk it. Conviction is not about having all the answers. It's about moving anyway. It's about choosing boldness over hesitation, because the cost of hesitation is far greater than the cost of taking a wrong step. When you hesitate, you lose momentum. You allow doubt to take root. You sit idle while your future slips further into someday. But when you act, when you begin, you gain feedback. You gain experience. You gain clarity. Even a misstep teaches you something. Even failure becomes fuel. But hesitation? That teaches you nothing. It only reinforces fear. It keeps you small, silent, stuck. So what are you waiting for? The world doesn't need more polite ambition. It needs embodied conviction. People who move without applause, who build without permission, who show up every day not because someone told them to, but because they know this is their calling. This is their mission. And no external validation can replace internal truth. You're already enough. You're already ready. What's missing isn't another sign. It's the moment where you decide to stop looking around for approval and start leading. So rise. Not when someone says you're allowed to, but now. Move not because it's guaranteed, but because you're willing. That's what conviction demands. That's what leadership looks like. And the world won't hand it to you. It will only respond once you claim it. Your standard determines your destiny. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your standards. Dreams inspire, but standards shape. Your life isn't built on what you want. It's built on what you accept. If your standards are low, if you tolerate indiscipline, excuse weakness, or turn a blind eye to your own mediocrity, then every opportunity that comes your way will eventually collapse under the weight of your own inconsistency. It's not fate that destroys progress. It's the quiet erosion of low expectations. But if your standards are high, everything shifts. Your time becomes sacred. Your word becomes law. You no longer let your future be decided by mood or circumstance. You protect your progress with fire. Standards are not goals. A goal is what you're reaching for. A standard is what you refuse to fall below. It's the floor, not the ceiling. It's the line you draw in the sand and say, never again. Not because someone told you to, but because you've decided that your future demands more. It's not about perfection. It's about precision. It's about refusing to let your potential be dragged down by laziness, excuses, or cheap shortcuts. A man can say he wants success. He can fill journals with affirmations, make vision boards, read motivational quotes. But if he wakes up late, procrastinates on his work, and rushes through his commitments, he's lying to himself. His actions speak louder than his words. His standards, those invisible rules he lives by, are telling the truth, and they're dragging him down. Raising your standards is not a motivational speech. It's not about hype. It's about integrity. Imagine a master craftsman working alone in a quiet shop. He finishes a piece of furniture and notices a flaw. Tiny, almost invisible. He could let it go. No one would know, but he would. And that is reason enough to redo it. His standard is excellence, not applause. He's not waiting for someone to hold him accountable. He's already decided. Nothing leaves these hands unless it's right. Now ask yourself, what have you been letting slide? What corners have you cut because no one's watching? What tasks have you rushed because it doesn't really matter? These are not small decisions. They're bricks in the foundation of who you are becoming. Every time you tolerate laziness, every time you deliver something you know could be better, you reinforce a pattern, and patterns become identity. You might say, but I'm doing my best. Are you? Or have you simply grown comfortable with your current level? There is a difference between effort and standard. You can work hard and still fall short if your standards are low. The truth is, we often confuse exhaustion with excellence, but they're not the same. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're rising. Just because you're tired doesn't mean you've done your best. When you raise your standard, the change is immediate, even if the results take time to show. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop saying yes to things that pull you away from your purpose. You become precise with your language, intentional with your actions, and protective of your time. You no longer tolerate behavior in yourself that you once excused. You become sharp, and this sharpness cuts through noise. Others may resist it. They may call you intense, rigid, obsessed. Let them. Because what they call obsession, the world later calls mastery. The truth is, most people are scared of high standards because high standards hold up a mirror. They reveal where we've been settling. But when you commit to a higher standard, you don't just elevate yourself, you challenge the people around you to rise too. And though they may resist at first, eventually the world responds to what you demand from it. Standards are contagious. When you walk with discipline, others begin to follow. When you speak with conviction, people listen. And when you no longer accept less than excellence from yourself, life begins to match your expectations. Not because it's easier, but because you've become the kind of person who can handle it. So raise your standard, not for applause, not for ego, but for alignment, so that your actions match your vision, so that your habits match your hopes, so that when the results arrive, you don't have to scramble to be ready. You already are. Because in the end, success doesn't belong to the person with the loudest dream. It belongs to the one with the highest standard, the one who lives every day as if excellence is not an option, but a requirement. Let silence speak for you. In a noisy world, silence is power. Not weakness, not absence, not fear, but control. The kind of control that doesn't need validation, doesn't beg for attention, and doesn't crumble under doubt. Silence is the posture of those who are too focused to waste time performing. It is the language of the disciplined, the driven, and the dangerous. When you choose silence, not out of fear, but out of intention, you are declaring to the world that you are working on something too important to be interrupted. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't owe the world a play-by-play of your progress. You don't need to constantly update your plans, defend your motives, or justify your journey. The strongest people you'll ever meet are not always the loudest. In fact, they rarely are. The loudest man in the room is often the one who feels the smallest inside. He speaks to cover the cracks. He performs to protect the image. But the man who is silent, who observes, who listens, who sharpens, he is the one shaping the future while everyone else is talking about it. Silence is not inactivity. It's precision. It's movement without noise. It's motion without applause. And it's deadly effective. You don't waste your breath trying to convert doubters. You don't argue with small minds. You don't explain your vision to people who've never built anything of their own. You just build. Quietly, consistently, strategically. And when the results come, they come like a storm. And the silence that preceded them makes the impact even louder. Think of a woman who has been underestimated her entire life. She's been mocked, ignored, laughed at, behind closed doors. But she doesn't throw words back in anger. She doesn't try to win the crowd. She withdraws. She sharpens her edge in the background. She prepares, not to prove a point, but because she believes in the work. Day by day, she improves. She stacks skills. She tightens her discipline. And then one day, it happens. Her work is undeniable. The same people who once doubted her now sit in silence, watching her rise, wondering how they missed it. But she didn't do it for them. She did it because silence gave her space to become. Now turn the mirror on yourself. Have you been wasting your energy on explanations that serve no purpose, instead of conserving that energy for creation, growth, and mastery? But I don't want people to misunderstand me, you say. Let them. Let them. Misunderstanding is not your problem, it's theirs. You cannot live your life explaining the depth of your vision to people committed to seeing only the surface. The truth always reveals itself. Time always unmasks the real workers, the real builders, the ones who chose silence over spectacle. And when you finally do speak, after the building is done, your words will carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they come from a place of proven power. Silence is how you conserve your energy. It's how you maintain your edge. It is not passivity, it's preparation. It's how you sharpen your strategy, how you study your surroundings, how you learn the patterns and weaknesses of the world before making your move. While others burn out trying to be heard, you're gathering strength. While they chase applause, you're building empires. The world teaches you to shout. It pushes you to promote, to perform, to constantly project. But this constant noise dilutes your voice. If you speak all the time, your words lose meaning. But if you wait, if you build, If you speak only when it matters, people listen. Because silence builds tension, it builds mystery. And when that silence breaks, it hits like thunder. There is a kind of respect that only belongs to those who kept quiet while they were underestimated, who didn't flinch under criticism, who didn't fight every battle, but instead chose to become so good they couldn't be ignored. That kind of silence is not submission. It's a slow and deliberate rise. Withdraw from the noise. Step back from the crowd. Pull your energy out of shallow arguments and empty validation. Use it to refine yourself. Use it to build something unshakable. And trust this truth. One day, your silence will speak louder than every word ever could, because the world listens to results. It listens to outcomes. And when your work speaks for you, when it walks into the room before you even say a word, that is when you know your silence was never a void. It was power. It was discipline. It was the sound of someone becoming unstoppable. So stay quiet. Stay focused. Keep building. And when the time comes to speak, the world will listen. Become a magnet for opportunity. You don't chase opportunity. You attract it. Not by screaming your worth to the world, not by begging to be seen, and certainly not by sitting idle waiting for lightning to strike. You attract opportunity by becoming the kind of person the world can't afford to overlook. The kind of person whose presence signals readiness, whose posture speaks louder than a pitch, whose habits declare without a single word that they are built for more. Opportunity doesn't knock for the passive. It seeks the prepared. And preparation isn't random. It's not wishful thinking dressed up as effort. It's not a scattered schedule or a once-a-week burst of motivation. It is a lifestyle, a mindset, a rhythm. It's found in how you rise in the morning, how you treat your word, how you structure your time. It's in the way you show up, consistently, even when no one is watching. You see, opportunity is not handed to the loudest person in the room. It finds the one who has been moving in silence, working in the dark, sharpening their tools without applause. When you live like this, when your routine becomes sacred, when your character becomes non-negotiable, when your word becomes as solid as stone, something powerful begins to happen. The world starts to notice, not all at once, not with fireworks, but with quiet respect, with quiet curiosity, with doors that begin to unlock, not by force, but by gravity. Think of a tree, a great towering tree standing alone in the middle of a field. It does not chase the sunlight. It doesn't stretch out its branches with desperation. It simply grows, deep, strong, slow. Its roots hold firm. Its trunk stands tall. Its presence is undeniable. And in time, the light finds it. The rain nourishes it. The wind respects it. Because nature bends toward what is rooted in strength. Now look at yourself. Look at how you move through your day. Are you magnetic right now? Are your actions pulling excellence toward you? Or are you still waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect time, the perfect clarity to begin? But no one sees me, you say. They will, once you become someone worth seeing, not flashy, not desperate, but undeniable. There's a quiet power in those who prepare behind the curtain, in those who aren't waiting to be crowned, but are already acting like they belong on the throne. Opportunity doesn't visit the idle. It honors the diligent. It finds the man who wakes early and gets to work without waiting for motivation. It notices the woman who keeps her promises even when it would be easier to cancel. You want to be noticed? Start today. Be punctual. Be honest. Finish what you start. Master your craft even if no one's clapping for you yet. Speak only when your words carry weight. Move only with purpose. Let your daily discipline become your calling card, because when you move like someone who's going somewhere, the world takes notice. And here's the truth. You won't have to chase the door down. You won't have to beg for access. You won't have to scream for attention. The door will open because you'll already look like you belong on the other side. Your very presence will say, I've prepared for this. And when that door does open, you won't walk in like a guest. You walk in like a builder who brought his own tools. Most people live in cycles of waiting, waiting to be seen, waiting to be chosen, waiting for a spark to move them. But those who attract opportunity are not waiting, they are becoming. They understand that the real work begins before the opportunity arrives, that you don't prepare for the stage on the stage, you prepare in the shadows. And if you do this right, when the spotlight finally turns in your direction, you don't flinch, you don't scramble. You step in, already moving, already ready, already sure. So let this be your reminder. You are not chasing anything. You are becoming someone worth chasing. You are not hoping for a break. You are building such unshakable excellence that the world can't look away for long. You are the tree, the roots, the silent power in the... You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You just need to live like someone who belongs on the other side of every door you've ever dreamed of walking through. Start now, build the habits, protect your time, lead yourself before anyone else follows, carry yourself like your future already knows your name, because when preparation meets posture and posture meets presence, opportunity has to respond, and when it does, you'll know it wasn't luck. It was never luck. It was you all along, becoming impossible to ignore. Stop waiting for the right time. There is no perfect moment. No golden hour when all lights turn green and the path before you clears itself of every obstacle. The right time is a myth, a comfortable illusion sold to the hesitant, the overthinkers, the ones who prefer planning to doing, to trap, not a strategy, a way to stay safe, not a way to succeed. Because the truth is this, the only real time is now. You keep waiting, waiting for more clarity, waiting for the fear to shrink, waiting for the day you wake up and feel suddenly bold, brave, and certain. But that day won't come. Not because it's impossible, but because it doesn't exist in the way you imagine. Greatness is never born in perfect conditions. It's born in messy beginnings, in awkward first steps, in blurry decisions that make you sweat, in rooms where you feel unqualified, unsure, and uncomfortable, but show up anyway. We live under the illusion that one day everything will feel right, that one morning we'll rise with fire in our chest and all the signs pointing toward go. But life doesn't work like that. The clock doesn't pause for your emotions. It doesn't wait for your confidence to catch up. It moves quietly, relentlessly, with or without your participation. And every day you wait for better conditions, someone else is using that same day to build, to move, to gain ground you'll later wish you had claimed. Mention a man standing on the bank of a cold river. He stares at the current, toes curled at the edge, waiting for the water to warm. But the water never does. It stays cold, indifferent to his hesitation. He tells himself he'll dive in tomorrow, next week, maybe after one more forecast. Meanwhile, another man walks up, doesn't hesitate, and jumps in. He shivers, he struggles, but he learns. He swims, he adapts. And while the first man is still waiting for ideal conditions, the second has already reached the other side. This is what life is like. The ones who leap don't do it because they're fearless. They do it because they choose not to be controlled by fear. They understand that readiness isn't something you find. It's something you become. You don't wait to feel ready to begin. You begin. And readiness shows up along the way. Confidence doesn't lead the charge. It follows action. Ask yourself honestly, what have you been postponing? That book you've been dreaming of writing? That business you've imagined 100 different ways in your head? That conversation you know you need to have? That change in career or city or lifestyle that keeps whispering to you when the room is quiet? You tell yourself you're being strategic. You tell yourself it's about timing. You convince yourself you're waiting for a little more stability, a little more income, a little more support. But look deeper. Are you really preparing, or are you just scared? Are you researching, or are you hiding behind the excuse of just one more thing? But I don't feel ready, you say. Of course you don't. No one does. Readiness is not the price of admission. It's the reward for walking through the door anyway. It's the result of movement, of doing something before you're certain. You leap, and then you learn how to land. You speak, and then you find your voice. You build, and then your hands become skilled. But nothing comes from waiting. Nothing grows in hesitation. Make the decision today, not because you feel fully confident, not because every piece is in place, but because your future deserves more than delay. Stop checking the wind. Stop watching the tides. The conditions may never change, and even if they do, you'll find a new reason to wait, a new fear to nurse. Fear doesn't disappear when circumstances improve. It disappears when you move in spite of it. Put your foot forward. Take the first step. Let the rest catch up. Life is not about having every answer in advance. It's about showing up with what you have, where you are, and trusting that motion will reveal more than meditation ever could. Because while others wait for the right time, you'll be too busy making time work for you. You'll be building while they plan, creating while they doubt, winning ground while they whisper about when the stars might align. And by the time they begin, you'll already be miles ahead, not because you knew more, but because you started sooner. So stop worshiping the myth of perfect timing. Stop holding your breath for a life that only begins once everything feels safe. The water will always be cold. The current will always look strong. But if you jump, if you dare, you will learn, you will grow. And you will prove to yourself that greatness was never about luck or timing. It was always about action. Now is the time, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. It's yours, and what you do with it will define the rest of your life. Do the work, even when it's boring. The secret to mastery is not found in excitement. It is not discovered in the adrenaline of new beginnings or the thrill of praise. It does not emerge from the spotlight or applause. The true path to mastery lies in the mundane, in the ordinary, repetitive, often unseen tasks that most people overlook. Mastery lives in routine, in repetition, in the steady, unshakable commitment to do the work even when it feels like nothing is changing. Most people fall in love with the dream. They get addicted to the idea of success, the image, the recognition, the impact, but they grow restless with the process. They want the results without the repetition. They want the victory without the grind. They crave progress but reject patience. And so, when the novelty fades and the work becomes routine, they look for an exit. They chase the next new thing, hoping it will feel easier. But mastery doesn't reward the ones who chase excitement, it crowns those who stay. Doing the work, especially when the excitement is gone, is the highest form of belief. It is saying, this still matters, even when your emotions no longer scream it. It is staying when no one claps. It is waking up and showing up not because you feel like it, but because your standard demands it. That kind of consistency, that quiet determination, is the fuel of mastery. Think of the violinist. The audience hears a cascade of beauty, the kind that moves souls and stirs emotions. But what they don't hear are the years of drills, the thousands of hours spent repeating scales, perfecting posture, adjusting grip again and again. The calluses, the missed notes, the fatigue, that's the price, that's the process. The performance is just a reflection of what was built in solitude. Now picture your own life, your journey. Where do you start with fire but quickly flicker out? Where do you allow boredom to whisper you away from your path? Maybe it's your fitness routine, or your writing, or your business. Maybe you said you'd commit, but the grind started to feel heavy. The steps became predictable, and so you backed off, thinking you lost interest, when in fact you lost your connection to the process. But it's so repetitive, you say, yes. And that's exactly where your power is forged. In repetition, you sharpen. In repetition, you evolve. In repetition, you learn to endure, to refine, to deepen your discipline. Repetition is not the enemy, it is the foundation. It turns actions into instincts. It burns away mediocrity and reveals who's really in it for the long run. The mistake most people make is thinking greatness should feel great all the time, that if it's dull, it must not be right. But the truth is, boredom is not a sign to stop. It's a sign to lock in, to go deeper, to stop seeking stimulation and start seeking substance. Because the ones who rise are not those who wait for motivation. They are the ones who move without it. Success doesn't come to those who act only when it's convenient. It comes to those who show up consistently, no matter the mood, no matter the weather, no matter the silence. That's where the real transformation happens. In the dark, quiet mornings when you feel like skipping, in the late nights when you'd rather rest, in the unglamorous hours that nobody sees but you. Mastery is a slow burn, a process of laying one brick at a time with care and intention. It's not a sprint. It's not a viral moment. It's not built in passion alone. It's built in the habits you form when the world stops watching, when the results aren't yet visible, when only your inner standard holds you accountable. So ask yourself, can you keep going when it's no longer new? Can you stay disciplined when the feedback disappears? Can you still give your best when it seems like no one notices? That's the test. That's what separates the talkers from the builders, the dreamers from the doers. And here's the thing. The foundation you lay during those quiet, dull moments becomes permanent. It holds you when storms come. It anchors you when pressure builds. It is the invisible strength beneath your visible success. The audience will see the outcome, but you will know what it cost. And that cost is paid in silence, in sweat, in repetition. Do the work, especially when it's dull, especially when it's uncelebrated, especially when your feelings say, maybe not today. Because the work you do when you don't feel like it, the chapters you write when you're uninspired, the reps you push through when you're tired, the decisions you honor when no one would blame you for quitting, that work is sacred. It builds something within you that excitement never could, discipline. And from discipline comes excellence. And from excellence comes mastery. So stop looking for the spark. Start looking for the ritual, the routine, the practice. That's where mastery lives. In the small things done greatly. In the ordinary hours honored fully. In the quiet commitment that says, I will show up no matter how I feel. Because in the end, it won't be the loudest voice or the biggest idea that wins. It will be the one who embraced the boring parts and kept going. Live as the future you would you already know what the future version of you looks like. That version of you walks with certainty. Their posture is tall, not arrogant, but grounded. Their voice carries clarity, not because they shout, but because they speak from truth. They don't stumble through decisions. They act with vision. They command respect, not because they demand it, but because they embody it. That person exists within you, not as fantasy, but as blueprint. So here's the real question. Why not live like them now? Too many people live in delay. They speak of goals as if they exist in some far-off timeline, like the future is a destination they'll arrive at one day when everything clicks. Once I get the promotion, once I lose the weight, once I make more money, then I'll show up differently. But this mindset is a lie, a soft, comforting lie that keeps you stuck. You don't arrive and then become. You become and then you arrive. Identity doesn't wait for evidence. Identity creates evidence. When you start living today like the person you aim to be tomorrow, something powerful happens. You compress time. You collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to go. You stop hoping for growth and you start becoming it. And the more you act in alignment with that future version of yourself, the faster your life reshapes itself to match. Picture a young tradesman, an apprentice with a dream of mastery. He isn't yet the master, but he sharpens his tools with pride. He doesn't toss them carelessly into a drawer. He places them with intention, like they matter. He dresses for the craft, not because anyone told him to, but because it puts him in the mindset of a professional. He treats every nail, every cut, every joint as if it carries his name, his reputation. And over time, without realizing it, the line between apprentice and master blurs because he acted like the master long before anyone gave him the title. So ask yourself, what does your future self do that you're not doing now? What habits have they mastered? What words do they speak and which do they refuse to say? How do they treat their time? What boundaries do they enforce? What do they no longer tolerate from others or from themselves? You say, but I'm not there yet. Of course you're not. That's the point. You act first. The change follows. You move like a leader before the crowd listens. You dress like a winner before the reward arrives. You speak with purpose before the world believes you. That's how belief is built, from the inside out, not from external confirmation. Waiting is comfortable. It gives you an excuse to stay small, to avoid risk. One day, you tell yourself. But deep down, you know that one day is a stall, a delayed tactic. And if you're not careful, one day turns into never. Dreams rot not because they were impossible, but because people refused to begin before they were ready. You don't need to wait for the title to lead. You don't need more money to act like someone who respects it. You don't need an audience to live with excellence. You decide to rise, and from that decision, a new pattern forms. You start waking up with more urgency. You start preparing like it matters. You start making choices not from comfort, but from character. And suddenly you look around and realize you are becoming that person. Because identity is not static. It's a habit. It's forged in the choices you make every single day when no one is watching. It's carved into your schedule, your tone, your standards. Every time you say not yet, you delay your transformation. But every time you say, I'll act as if I already am, you step closer to becoming. This isn't about pretending. It's about alignment. Acting as if is not deception, it's direction. It's a commitment to no longer be ruled by current circumstances, to walk ahead of your reality until it catches up. It's what visionaries have always done. They don't wait for permission. They move as if it's already theirs, and the world follows. Don't wait to feel ready. Ready is a moving target. By the time you feel ready, the opportunity may have passed. Don't wait for applause. The crowd cheers after the work is done, not before. Don't wait for the position. The most powerful people in the world were leading before they were ever given the title. They showed up with authority because they decided to. Live now like it's already yours. Walk with the posture of the future. Make decisions like someone who already earned it. Speak like your words shape your world. because they do. Stop entertaining habits your future self would never touch. Let go of relationships, routines, and reactions that no longer serve your elevation. Every step you take in alignment with your future identity makes that version more real. You don't have to see the finish line to know you're on the right path. You only need to walk like someone who belongs there. So the next time you ask yourself when to start, start now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when it's convenient, now. Because the sooner you start living as the person you're becoming, the sooner you become them. And when that future finally arrives, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready because you were already walking like you belonged. Become immune to doubt. Doubt is part of the journey, but it doesn't have to control it. It's a passenger, not the driver. You can feel doubt in your bones, hear it whispering in your ears, live beside it every single day, and still move forward. Doubt does not disqualify you. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply means you're human, and you're stepping into something that matters. It means you're on the edge of growth. But here's the truth. The people who succeed are not the ones who feel no fear. They're the ones who refuse to obey it. Doubt is the sound of an old pattern trying to protect itself. It's the voice of past failures, fears, and conditioning trying to hold you still. What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What will they think? You'll hear these questions echo in your mind, sometimes louder than the dream itself. That voice may never go away completely. It may show up every time you try to level up, but you don't have to surrender to it. You can learn to act anyway. You can move forward while it speaks. And every time you do, you take your power back. That's how you weaken doubt. You don't wait for it to disappear. You drown it in action. Every time you move despite fear, you send a signal to your mind. I lead here, not doubt, not fear, me. It's a declaration, not to the world, but to yourself, a promise that says, even if I'm scared, I go. Even if I don't feel ready, I build. Picture a carpenter working through a storm. The winds are loud, the sky is uncertain, rain starts to fall, but he keeps building. His hands are steady. His grip doesn't shake. Why? Because he's built in storms before. He's faced this noise before. And he knows if he lets the wind dictate his work, the job will never be finished. Doubt doesn't move his hammer. Discipline does. Years of repetition, focus, and inner strength have trained him to press on when others pause. That's what separates the seasoned from the stuck. Not that they don't hear the wind, but that they don't stop because of it. Now think of your own life. Where has doubt frozen your feet? What dream have you delayed because you listened too long to that inner whisper? Maybe it's the book you haven't started, the business you haven't launched, the conversation you've avoided, the path you've imagined 100 times but never had the courage to walk. You tell yourself it's not the right time, that you need to think a little longer, plan a little more. But underneath all that strategy is doubt in disguise, pulling the strings with quiet hands. You say, but what if it goes wrong? And I ask you back, what if it goes right? What if that step you're afraid to take becomes the doorway to everything you've been waiting for? What if the risk reveals a strength you didn't know you had? What if all the things you fear never happen and in their place something beautiful unfolds? You'll never know if you keep giving doubt the mic. You'll never taste what's possible if you keep giving fear the final word. It's not about eliminating fear. It's about outgrowing its influence. It's about training yourself to hear doubt and not flinch, to walk forward even when your knees shake, to speak even when your voice trembles, to begin even when the outcome is uncertain. The more you do this, the stronger you get. The less power doubt holds. Eventually it becomes background noise, still there but small, still talking but ignored. You have to let your discipline drive, not your doubt. You have to let your clarity guide, not your confusion. You have to let your action lead, not your anxiety, because movement builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. Each small step you take strengthens your inner foundation. Every action, especially the difficult ones, are like bricks in the structure of your confidence. And once you build that, there's very little that can shake it. The irony is doubt often shows up strongest right before the breakthrough, right before the leap. That's not coincidence. It's resistance, because you're getting close. And resistance is the mind's way of keeping you safe in the familiar. But safe doesn't build legacies. Comfort doesn't change lives. Growth demands risk. It demands courage. It demands that you act in the presence of doubt, not in the absence of it. So don't wait for silence. Don't wait for the fear to vanish. Don't wait until everything feels perfect. That day won't come. But this one today is already here. And you can make it count. You can use it as